Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. Today is Sunday, January 10th, and I am here to break down the 6-game main slate for FanDuel, Draftkings, and Yahoo. So we will be going over all of those. It is a 6 p.m. Eastern start to the slate, so an hour earlier than normal. And I'm looking forward to continuing our hot streak. We've had 3 days in a row now where we're knocking some heads around like we wanted to do from the jump street. So it's a great time to come aboard if you want to join us. It's dfscoachtalk.com. You can also take advantage of a wonderful offer from one of our partners here at BetUS.com.pa. If you sign up there and deposit $149 and use the promo code CoachTalk, all one word, no space, you will get a free membership with Coach Talk that goes from now until April 1st. So it's a hard thing to pass up when you're talking about getting a free membership and getting to join an incredible community that we have at Coach Talk with some fantastic members. So we want to get into this today. We're going to go through game by game and hopefully give you some real nuggets of value and of top plays and some fades. We're going to try to do the entire deal for you here. So what I'd like to start out and do is just go over the whole list of injuries and COVID protocols, which there are a ton of them. Some teams are just decimated, like Boston now. Everybody's sort of taking a turn with the whole COVID thing. I sure hope it hangs on here. I'd hate to see games start getting canceled. But I'm going to go through this real quickly. This way it'll be easier when we go through the game by games. So bear with me. This is all important news, so you definitely want to catch it. Joe Ingles probable. Jason Tatum doubtful. I thought he was already ruled out with 10 to 14 days out with a positive test for COVID. So I would not expect him to play. Same thing with Otto Porter. Actually, his is a lower back. He's doubtful for Chicago. Mike Muscala also got hurt, but his ribs have healed up enough that he is confirmed in, so he'll add a little bit to that Oklahoma City depth, if there is any. Tyler Johnson is out. Kevin Looney is questionable, so we got to follow that one. That could get a few more minutes for Mr. Wiseman. Frank Ntilikina's already been ruled out. Kevin Knox probable. Cat played. We expect him to play again because it's a wrist he has taped up from that dislocation. He's expected to play, but the minutes will be within question. And at his price, you got to look at that pretty severely. Some of the other COVID protocol Boston guys are Ogilvy and Green and Jaylen Brown. So wow, Boston is going to be in that, barely field a team kind of scenario. Andrew Wiggins is questionable with a sore right foot. KCP remains questionable again. Kyle Lowry is back. He missed yesterday's game due to personal reasons. He has returned for the Sunday game. And then we have our daily fun of, the Lakers. They just keep pounding this questionable tag for all their key guys. Davis and James, both questionable for today's game. We know Davis sat yesterday. I would expect him to play. Maybe LeBron takes a turn and sits. We'll see. It's against the Rockets. Again, it's going to be very important to follow the news on this as the day goes. We also have a questionable tag on Kyrie. He was out for personal reasons the last game. And we'll see if he comes back today with Kyrie. You absolutely never know. So super news dependent there. The good thing for Brooklyn is Durant is probable coming back after sitting out some time with the COVID protocol deal. So he should play today. Not 100%, but he's probable. Derek Favors, probable as well. Ben McLemore, questionable, continues to be questionable there. And Daniel House is out for his fourth straight game, dealing with a back issue. Steph Curry also listed as probable. He played the last game with a tweaked ankle and looked phenomenal, so I expect him to lace him up against Toronto this evening. Okay, that is it. Sorry it was such an extensive list, but I mean, right now that is such a massive key in really determining, who's in, who's out. This has been also, with this COVID stuff, has been a huge year for the late swap deal. Setting your lineup up ahead of time, like we did yesterday with Curry, who we really didn't know was very questionable one way or the other, then went to probable later, so we had him in there, but we had pivots in mind if that didn't work out. And you really do need to think that stuff through when you're building a roster. So I know it adds another element, but right now with the late games and having guys like AD and LeBron, who are, shifters of a slate, questionable, you've got to take advantage of those spots, because you don't want to get to a point where you have to sit a guy and you don't have a viable replacement in mind, or you don't want to leave a ton of money on the table, but you also don't want to be short and have to go with somebody that's not going to be solid in their rotation. So follow along with us here. We're going to always break it out 7 days a week for you and give you the best opportunity to build that lineup. But the key factor after that is to join us in Discord. We're in there throughout the day, updates of player news, any lineup changes, player restrictions, COVID news, etc. So you want to follow us in our Discord. Again, you can join us at dfscoachtalk.com, and we set our lineups and get everything in our main chat 30 minutes before lock. And then again, like I say, this isn't the old school days where you locked your lineup in and then you could just go about your way. You've got to stay involved with it through the evening, because the news is constantly changing with the different times of games and all of that rotation of players in and out. So you want to stick with us there. Okay, no further ado. Let's jump into this slate. It is a very interesting one, and there's a lot of variance here. So we're not going to talk about the two early games, Utah, Detroit, Chicago, LA. You can play those in a showdown slate or do whatever you need to do there. We want to focus on this main slate. That's where the majority of all the good contests are, the bigger and better double ups and 50-50s and some good single entry events you can get in as well. And if you're feeling frosty, the big money event, you can throw a bullet in that. So, all right, first game on the board, Oklahoma City Thunder at 4-4 against the Brooklyn Nets at 5-5. So I was very surprised at the Thunder. They've won 2 in a row. They're 4-4, and I don't know how the hell they're doing it, but more power to them. They're getting it done. That's the bottom line. Right now, our wonderful partners at BetUS.com.pa has the line at Brooklyn minus 8.5, and the over/under is 225. So a fair number for that. As far as defensive team efficiency, this is a little bit of a red flag here. You've got Brooklyn third. They're really getting it done defensively. And Oklahoma City is 10th. Hence, that's why they're 4-4, is they've got a top 10 defense with this group. Some real scrappers with Dort and Baisley, and of course the savory veterans in Hill and Horford. They know how to defend, and they're getting it done. So defense is a little bit of a concern there. On the plus side, though, I mean, you've got Oklahoma City's 19th in pace, so a little bit below average, but Brooklyn's all the way up to 4th, and they get Durant back and possibly Irving back. So, that creates some interest there. For me, I like arrested Kevin Durant in this game. I know he's somewhat expensive. Um, he generally doesn't. They don't have to ramp him up slowly with minutes. I think he'll come out, especially if Kyrie is out. If Kyrie's out, Durant's a plug and play for me. If Kyrie's in, I'm going to consider Durant, but it's not as automatic of a play. On the Oklahoma City side, man, other than Shea, I don't know how you have the courage to really roster anybody else. I tried Darius Baisley the other day, didn't work out. And again, all those guys are splitting time and minutes and rotation, and they're buying into the coach. He's doing a hell of a job to have them at 500. But I don't want to go Shea because I know he's monster usage, but his price is high, and Brooklyn's defense, third ranked, they're getting it done. So again, news is important on Kyrie here. You can look at the guys that have been doing a great job since Brooklyn's been shorthanded. Karis LeVert was like 1,000,000% owned last time and paid it off. He was over 50 DFS points. Certainly a guy you can consider again. The question is, if you have both Kyrie and Durant back and they bump LeVert back to that second unit again, that becomes a little bit tough, especially in the fact that OKC also has a top 10 defense. So let's see how the news rolls out specifically with Irving, and then we can focus a little bit more on that game. All right, game 2. We've got Denver at the New York Knicks. Denver's 4-5, below 500. Terrible start for them after coming out of the bubble like one of the contenders to win the whole thing. Knicks, how about those Knicks? Break them up, 5-4. Tibbs is getting it done. He's playing his guys 1,000,000 minutes like he always does. They've bought in defensively and have done a terrific job there. Interesting. This should be a really good game. BetUS has it as a Denver 6-point favorite on the road. A paltry second lowest 215 over under. A couple of reasons for that are the pace for both teams. Denver 24th and the Knicks 27th. So this is not going to be an up and down game. You're going to run, basically the Knicks are running most things through Randall, and Denver always, of course, through the Joker. So you've got a little bit of slowdown, a little bit of ball movement, and therefore not as many DFS opportunities. So definitely a concern. I'm not super excited about the fact that they're going to be playing at that pace. Now on the defensive efficiency side, Denver's been terrible. That's why they're below 500. They're 26th. And the Knicks, as I said, have bought in. They're 4th. So that definitely affects things. The 215 number affects things. So I am not going to focus on this game. I think that the Joker's too expensive. Jamal Murray's been great in stretches and not great in stretches. So there's some risk there, but his price is low. He would be the one I'd consider over anybody else on that squad. Porter remains out again with the COVID situation. So, if you're playing GPPs, you can look at a Barton possibly, but I'm not real thrilled with their ancillary players. A lot of guys splitting minutes. Morris chips in, Harris chips in, Millsap. Just too many to be effective in a nice 6-game slate like this that we're dealing with. On the Knicks side, it's always tempting to play Barrett, Randall, or Payton because they get such an enormous amount of minutes. But how's this game going to work out? Are the Knicks going to try to control the pace, which they probably will? The total's low. Denver, again, though, is not playing good defense at all. I think Julius Randle, even though his price is really too high, would be a very nice play if you can afford him to put him in there. Not as crazy about Barrett this game. Elf remains, they just don't move his price up much. So, he remains in play because, he's not smashing it, but he's getting that 6x, 7x a few times, and is definitely playable. I'm not going to focus on this game, maybe a one-off, but I think that, you have to look at it just because of the usage and of the guys like the Joker and Murray, Peyton Randall, and definitely Barrett as well. All right, let's move on to game 3. It is a 7 o'clock game. So you have 2 6 Eastern games, which again is an hour early, so be prepared when you're setting lineups. And then you've got the 7 Eastern game, which is bizarre. It's going to be Miami-Boston, but God only knows what Boston's going to be able to roll out there based on the COVID scenario. Hopefully they can get 8 guys together. Obviously, Vegas has reacted, so Miami's a 7-point favorite on the road, which may not be enough with all those guys sitting from Boston. But here's the problem. 212.5 is the total. That is low. That's, I think, the second lowest I've seen this season. So that is a huge concern. Obviously, Boston is going to try to shorten the game, shorten possessions, with not having all of their guns, whereas Miami is the most healthy that they've been. So a lot of risk in this game of blowout with Miami, even though it's only a 7-point number. The total's low, and the rotation's going to be wild. Now, it's going to be inevitable that all of us, including me, will go to 1 or 2 Boston guys that are going to be just dead, complete value that you can't pass by because the usage numbers are going to be ridiculous. I mean, Marcus Smart jumps out at me. Daniel Tice jumps out at me. If Jaylen Brown does play, he becomes like the number 1 play on the board with no Tatum. Right now, the presumptive lineup has Pritchard starting and Smart and Tice, and then it's really a crapshoot. Is Jaylen Brown is questionable, Ojeley is questionable to out, but the guys that have already been ruled out, are Tatum, Langford, Thompson, Walker, Williams, Robert, and the little Grant, or what is it, Grant Williams, I believe, the little dude from Tennessee that plays center all the time. So huge variance there. What do we expect? What's going to happen? Do you just spend the money up on Miami and play a Butler who's got hot the last 2 games? Do you consider Bam Adebayo, who's been very, very solid? There's always the possibility here that you get a little extra run from the sharpshooters like Hero and Robinson. Olynyk played decent lately, although his last game against Boston was not very good. So it's a tough game. I mean, we need all that final news before we can make a judgment here. If Jaylen Brown's out, I'm going to go with a combination of two of these guys, Pritchard, Smart, or Tice. Just can't pass the value. It makes everything else work. If Jaylen Brown is in, he becomes my number 1 play, and then probably stack a second guy. From the Miami side, if Brown's in, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a game, Butler has just paid off in spades the last 2 games for me. It's hard to go away from him when he's on a hot streak. And obviously with Boston losing some of those defenders, that's not going to help. So I will consider him. I'll look at Bam in some of my lineups and then go from there. So that is the first 3 games. A couple things to mention real quickly. Quick sip of coffee here. All right. Again, if you have a chance, check us out, dfscoachtalk.com. We'd love to have you join us. We'd love to have you be involved in that awesome BetUS offer as well. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, this is our 1 ask per podcast, and we do 7-day-a-week podcasts in front of the paywall We really like to get the word out there, discuss, the possibilities of these lineups. But one thing, I want you to know at DFS Coach Talk, there's a huge layer above before we even get to the breaking out of these games and teams and players. And that's our philosophy at Coach Talk. We have our community following particular procedures on contest selection and bankroll management. Those are the two things I think that differentiate us from anybody else in the industry. We have a members only podcast on those two things. I do a lot of one-on-ones, did about 10 of them this week with our members, where we'll walk through that. We'll look, what is a bankroll? What percentages are we recommending they play? What contests? And I'll tell you, that is the key. If you can get those two pieces down and then follow us here as we build out, really hand build one or two lineups every day that you can use as a hybrid, in other words, cash and GPP or single entry, which we like to really push, because, a key factor for us is we want to have equal odds as everybody else at taking something down. So, but anyway, if you're watching this on YouTube, it's super important for us. Our big ask each podcast, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and then hit the little alarm alert button so it'll let you know every time we post a podcast. We've right now got a PGA pod that comes out once a week. Our team is crushing it today. We're in the top 8%. Hopefully can finish PGA strong with a final round today. Our NFL guys, Andrew Hansen and Shane Caldwell, are the best in the business. They're putting out 2 or 3 podcasts now that we're down to the playoffs. Very, very sound. They go through everybody and do a great job. And then again, our NBA podcast is 7 days a week, and we're posting that right around lunchtime every day. So definitely hit those buttons here on YouTube. We really appreciate that. If you listen to us on audio, whether it's through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, please take a second, 5 stars, a quick comment. Again, all of those things affect the algorithm of where we show up on all social media, which really helps us drive traffic and hopefully ultimately membership to get our community to be even better and better. And it's a great community, lots of talking within the group, lots of recommendations, quick player news updates. I mean, we really work together to try to smash the slate every day. So we'd love to have you. Okay, last thing before we finish these last 3 games. On Twitter, follow us at DFS Coach Talk. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. Andrew is at Language Olympic, and Shane is at DET Sports Shane. Okay, we have another 7:00 game, and it is the Lakers and Houston. So we're not going to have to wait very long for the Lakers news, with all these questionable guys being LeBron and Davis specifically. We'll get that news fairly early, so that will help shape our build. Right now, BetUS has the Lakers -3, so that screams of either James or Davis sitting with only 3-point favoritism. A nice 224.5, pretty solid. Defensive efficiency, a little concern. The Lakers are up to 7th. Houston is at 16th. And then another little bit of a concern is the pace. They're 23rd and 22nd, respectively. So neither team is playing fast, which is amazing considering Houston was, the fastest team with that small ball lineup. Now they're down to 22nd. A lot of Wall and Harden dribbling, that's for sure. And then Cousins doesn't exactly play fast either. So you've got a completely different scenario than, last year in the bubble for sure. All right, so the situation here is, does this become an important game. And I hate to do this, but it's all news driven. I mean, if LeBron or Davis sits, it makes it almost impossible not to play the other guy, in my opinion. Again, last night's a perfect example. Davis sits, LeBron smashes. So you need to know that news, and it changes your whole slate. So if one of them sits and you play the other, that's your buy up guy. That's going to have a domino effect the rest of your lineup. So, hopefully you're taking all this in, and then as the news breaks, it makes it much easier for you to develop that lineup. But that's a necessity because also if one of the guys sits, it brings other people into play. You've got to look possibly at Schroeder, Kuzma, maybe even one of the bigs with Gasol or Harrell. So you got to take some time, build a lineup accordingly. I would put one of those two guys in there so that it's not as dramatic of a shift, and then just watch this late swap information. On the Houston side, Harden is extremely expensive. We've seen when they have their full team in there with Wall playing and Christian Wood and Cousins that they are sharing the ball some. Harden certainly is not the ball dominant monster that he was. Still can hit value at any time. It's just he's very expensive. Let me give you a quick idea of the upper echelon pricing since we're talking about it again. And, on DraftKings, Harden is the most expensive at 10.8, which is a hard pill for me to swallow with the Lakers' interior defense and the other guys all playing. Curry's up to 10.1, which is a little bit hard to stomach. Kyrie at 9.6 if he plays. Van Vliet. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I missed. Let me add a few guys in here. I was on point guards. The Joker's 11,000. Then Harden at 10.8. LeBron at 10.2. Curry, as I said, at 10.1. Then you have Cat at 9.8. Quite, we're not sure on the minutes there. AD 9.7, which is a decent price for him if he plays. Kyrie at 9.6. Julius Randle all the way up to 9.5. And then you have KD at 9.2. So again, part of the reason I like KD, especially if he's playing with no restrictions. To give you the same type of idea on FanDuel, we've got the Joker at 11.5, Harden 11.2, LeBron is 10.4, Cat 10.2, Davis 10.2, Curry 10,000, and Durant at 9.9, Irving 9.5. So he's cheaper on that on FanDuel than Durant. So interesting. Again, as you're building these lineups, we will have some value from the Boston game and a few other spots. So you should be able, out of that group, to buy up certainly to one and then build a balanced lineup. Or if you get a couple of those value plays, you can get two of these guys in there without a whole lot of trouble. Again, on Yahoo, which we've been getting pretty hot at as well, just to give you a quick idea, Harden 54, LeBron 48, Davis 48, Cat 48, Curry 47, Jaylen Brown, if he plays, 38, Christian Wood 38, and then it goes down from there. So there are some better different type pricing deals that you can get on Yahoo if you play that. Okay, so the question is, what are we doing in this game? Well, we're waiting for the news. We need to know that on certainly on James and Davis. I'm personally not going Houston in this game. The total's okay. It's not phenomenal. Not paying the top price for Harden. Certainly can smash at any given moment. And, with Wood and Wall and Cousins, etc., I keep saying it, but they are spreading the ball out a little bit more than they normally do. Wood is tough, but he's priced high. And if Davis does play, he can stonewall him, and Marc Gasol defends well, as does Ibaka. So this, it's not a Houston game for me. And then based on the news, that will dictate the Lakers game. All right, 2 games left. We have the other 8 o'clock game being, let's see here, San Antonio and Minnesota. No, I'm sorry, this is the first 8 o'clock game. There's 2 of them. San Antonio, Minnesota. Spurs are 5-4, and Minnesota is a ugly 2-7 and not looking great. We've got pretty much full squads here, and what you have to love in this game is that 233 number. These last 2 games are 233 and 233.5, and they are going to get most of my attention. I love these last 2 games as my favorite 2 games on the slate, and I will be stacking players from both teams. So looks like coach here is going to be doing the same thing, trying to finish strong and chase everybody down, but it is what it is. I don't let time of games or national TV games or anything affect that. You have to look at each game like they're being played at the same time with equal value. That's the most effective way to look at it and build a lineup on. So you've got the Spurs minus 3.5 on the road, 233 over under. Here's what's beautiful: defensive efficiency. Spurs 23, T-Wolves dead last, 30th. Gotta love that. Pace, Spurs 12th, Minnesota 8th. Again, gotta love that. So this game, with all of those things considered, has to be a game that you look to stack. I think DeMar DeRozan's in play. LaMarcus Aldridge is playing great. I think those are the first 2 spots that you look. DeJounte Murray has gotten more minutes with White out. I think you definitely look at him as potential. If you want to go real deep on this team, Johnson and Walker are doable. They've been very inconsistent. They're young players, but there are games where they do smash. So especially Johnson. So I love that side. On the Minnesota side, the question is, digging in, making sure we're going to get solid minutes out of Cat. If he's playing a full plethora of minutes, he's certainly in play. If he has restrictions, which I think he may, and I'm going to confirm that, then I'm not paying up for him when there's that group of 7 guys that we mentioned that are all very playable. So I don't want to go there. What I do want to do is look at the backcourt of Minnesota again. D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley. With this pace and the poor defense, these guys could both do very well in this game, especially if Cat is limited. You can go deeper, look at some of the bench with Minnesota, take a look at Hernan Gomez and a few of the value plays. Some of them may get caught up in this poor defense, high-paced game and be able to make value. So again, if you're looking to buy up in some spots, you can go stars and scrubs today. It is an option with some of these players in these last 2 games that are value, and then the Boston value that has opened up allows you to do that. So, it's, even though it's a 6 game slate, it does give you the option for pretty much medium build or 1 buy up and then trying to get a value and then medium build, or stars and scrubs. They're all in play, and based on the way that this entire slate plays out. So don't be afraid to attack any of those strategies. All right, the last game, the late night sweat game, starts 30 minutes later than all the rest. It's actually an 8:30 game, not 8. So we do have the latest game on the board. It also has the best set of circumstances for a high-scoring game. Toronto is a 3-point favorite on the road. So being at Golden State, this is very, very even match game. 233.5 is the biggest Vegas total on the day. You've got the 20th and 21st team defensive efficiency. Toronto's played the worst defense under Nurse since he's taken over that team. And they're giving up points in bunches, but they're also scoring points in bunches. Toronto right now has cracked the top 10 at 9th, and Golden State is 2nd in pace. So those 2 teams are getting up and down. They're scoring. They're not defending well. You've got pretty much a full team in here. The only question for Golden State is Wiggins, and he's been pretty bad. But for Toronto, I'm going to stack two guys 100%, and they're going to be either Lowry, Van Vliet, and Siakam. Two of those three, I think, are super in play here in this matchup. I may go with the backcourt, to be honest with you, the Lowry and Van Vliet backcourt. I just think that this game just opens wide open for them. Siakam, like I say, has done well. Center's a little tricky now. Boucher has been just absolutely murdering it and getting most of the minutes at center, but Alex Len has been starting, and they've rotated, Baines in there a little bit. He's sort of the odd man out. Boucher's playable. I mean, he's going against the rookie James Wiseman. Looney's questionable, and you can't deny when Boucher starts going, man, he's going to block a bunch of shots, score a bunch of points. So you've got four legit guys from Toronto. I'm not going to stack over two. I really don't like to stack over two on any particular team. I made an exception last night and stacked three Mavericks with Luka, Burke, and Hardaway, and it was like hitting the jackpot on the slot machine. All three of them were fantastic plays, 40s and 50s in points. Again, that had to do with the scenario of a bunch of Mavs sat out because of COVID, and we may have that same type of scenario with Boston today. So you got to, it's DFS is tough, it's competitive, and now with this COVID situation, has made it just a whole nother level more difficult because of all the potential sitting, and which just opens up stacks, etc. So anyway, my point being is, I generally like in a game like this that looks just picture perfect, I like the 2v2 build, get those four guys in there and feel great about it. If something odd like with the Mavs yesterday happens, then I may go that third guy, but very seldom. On the Golden State side of the ball, Curry's hard to deny as far as how he's played. However, I'm not going there today. His ankle's not 100%, although he played like it was. And, Lowry gets after it defensively. He's an irritant, and I think he'll bother Curry, and he's fresh because he didn't play yesterday. And, that concerns me, and Curry's price has just gone through the roof. The guys that I sort of want to look at here, and I know this is like beating a dead horse. I keep waiting for Kelly Oubre to burst out. He's been making value, sometimes 4x, but 5, 6x on occasion. He's shooting the ball atrociously, but he gets steals, he gets rebounds, he gets some blocks. And once he starts scoring the ball, that could be good. Now, the tough part is he's facing Anunoby from Toronto, who's an outstanding defender. So that scares me. And Oubre's price has gotten better, but I don't know if it's quite to the point where I want to really dial him up. Believe it or not, the two guys I like here on Golden State the most, and if you guys know me for a long time, I am not a Draymond Green guy at all. I don't like him. I think he's overrated. DFS-wise, for sure. He sinks lineups all the time. But I just think he's getting more run. He's more a part of what's going on. If he scores the ball at all, he's going to make value. And he has the potential in a wide open game like this to get, so many rebounds, steals, assists. He's going to dent the column in just about every category. So believe it or not, I'm considering Draymond Green at that real value price. The guy I like the most, though, is James Wiseman. I think, the only times he's had trouble so far in these first, 10 games is when he's going against a really strong, stout, heavier center that can bounce him around, because he's still very skinny, needs to put on weight. I mean, he's 19, 20 years old. I think 19, actually. But, once he gets a little thicker, he's going to be a monster. But getting to go against Boucher is, I think, a good elixir for him, because Boucher's just as skinny. Yes, he can block shots and be intimidating, but Wiseman's going to be able to post up and finish some shots at the rim. He gets a lot of rebounds. He's active. When he's in there against Len, I think he should dominate him on quickness. Again, Len will, body him up a little bit more, but Boucher's been getting the majority of run. So I don't mind going with the bigs there. It may be one of those odd things where I go Lowry, Van Vliet, and then Green and Weissman on the other side, small big, which, it depends on how it falls out. All right, that is the entire 6-game slate. Again, the biggest and most important piece of information here is following the news. We need to know about Kyrie. We need to know about LeBron. We need to know about AD. On down the line, Jaylen Brown. There's just a lot of guys that we need to know status that will affect the entire slate. I do think those last 2 games are the juiciest: Spurs, T-Wolves, and Raptors, Warriors. I think you really do need quite a bit of exposure in those 2. And then taking advantage of that value in Boston, depending on how that final rollout is, really can help you buy up to a couple of spots. So that's where we are. Those are the lines. I think it's a nice card, a good opportunity to make some money. And, follow us in Discord, dfscoachtalk.com. Check us out. You can join for as little as a week. And I think you'll really enjoy what we bring forward. So appreciate you guys listening in. I know it's a football Sunday, playoff Sunday, so enjoy those games. In Discord here, right 30 minutes before lock, I guess at 12:35 Eastern. Andrew and Shane will be in our Discord putting out our NFL lineups. And then later this afternoon, I'll be popping in there at 5:30 Eastern with our basketball lineups. And remember, we're giving out the coach's clipboard on Draftkings, which gives you a group of players with a highlighted core that you can build off of for both cash and GPP. And then we're giving out full FanDuel and Yahoo lineups as well. So we got you covered. We'd love to have you join us. And I appreciate you checking things out here today. Send me some comments, Twitter, at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi, or right here on YouTube. I generally always respond pretty quickly, so look forward to catching you with that. I'm back on here tomorrow with my partner in crime, Andrew, and look forward to catching you then. But until then, let's crush it in NBA DFS. Have a great day.